I'm spilling. Here
It's
we
a
go.
good way to start. There it is.
I might keep that in the video. This thing is foaming. It's got a lot of head. I'm serious. A lot of head. All right, guys. Welcome back to the Bow Disciples channel. We're here with the man himself, San Diego Mule's Travis Bowman, here from San Diego. So we're just going to have a little chat today about various topics, and we'll post it on YouTube. See if people like it. So first things first, tell us what inspired you to start the Instagram page.
So 2 years ago, I believe it was, I was hunting in Utah, usual deer hunt with my dad. We've been hunting up there for I've been with my dad 34 years hunting in Utah. And a picture was sent to me on my phone of two guys holding just big old bucks, big old San Diego bucks. Like, it was really cool to see that. Coming from San Diego, and I'm up in Utah, I have no idea who these guys are. Johnny Hunts and Jason is Outdoors, or Johnny Ryan and Jason Sweetwood are their names. But they just had these two really nice, solid bucks, and like they'd be really good bucks in Utah, but coming from San Diego, where we don't quite get the spreads that you do like in out of state hunting, like it was a really cool thing to see those two deer in a picture, and just getting sent to me, like, how many other people have seen that picture that have no idea who these guys are. And then the next year, 2017, I'm up in Utah again, and I get a picture sent to me of this guy with a big old shit-eating grin on his face. No, he wasn't. He actually wasn't smiling. He had the cool guy face on.
Yeah, he's in the cool pose on.
And he's actually holding this buck right here.
This guy.
And I had no idea who he was. And just looking at this buck, a very impressive buck. Like, coming from San Diego, it's got good mass and just, like, you know, everything you'd want from a San Diego buck. It would be a good buck in any state. And to see that, and, like, you know, once again, I'm up in Utah, out of my hometown of San Diego, like, and then I managed a couple days later to join the 200-inch club. Shot the biggest buck I'll ever see in my life, and ended up being a 10x9 muley. Came in, we green scored it at 208 inches. And then when I came back to San Diego, I had a guy measure it out officially at 201 5/8 inches, and I mean, it looks like he's got elk horns on his head. There's so much mass, and all of a sudden, like, you know, a couple months later, I'm in the bow and arrow shop, hanging out, talking to Bruce, and some guy comes up and taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Hey, are you Travis Bowman?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Dude, my friend from Montana sent me this picture of you with this buck, asking me if I knew Travis Bowman." I'm like sitting there, I'm like, that was like such a rad feeling, like to have it happen, and then find out, like, my picture's been on a couple of websites and all that stuff, and like nothing that I knew about. Yeah. And then I started thinking about it, and then the pictures that were sent to me while I was hunting in Utah of you and Johnny and Jason. And I was like, you know, San Diego needs something like that on Instagram, because I hadn't really heard of anything. I still, like, haven't really seen anything. I've kind of been looking. There is what is it, SCH Outdoors?
Yeah, that's like I believe that's more of like a forum,
yes,
an online forum. I don't know if they do Instagram or not. And what's interesting about forums is, like, I'm never on forums. Basically, for me, it's just, you know, I'm on YouTube, but I honestly don't watch, like, any hunting stuff. I just put it out. So I'll watch, like, a bunch of YouTube videos, but, like, different types of content. And then on Instagram, like, I'll see some hunting stuff here and there. But the reason I found out about SCH Outdoors was I put out the video of the poacher this year. And it got shared on there, and I found that out somehow. So I went and, like, read what people were saying, and what I realized was, like, I can't read what's on forums, because, like, people are saying the video's fake and it's staged, and, like, saying all this, or, like, just dumb stuff, or, like, saying I'm in the wrong for, like, So I was like, I can't spend time. Like, what? You know, I get pissed when I read it. So I'm like, that's why I stay away from them. But yeah, it's a good local forum.
Absolutely.
And there's another one called SCH Outdoors. Is that what it's called?
Oh,
they're like a local one too. So I think there's two, and they're both good. Just for me, I can't read the comments. Like being a guy who puts stuff out, I like try to kind of ignore the comments. You know.
No, I hear that all the time. Yeah. But I started looking on SCH, and it's rad. It's a good place.
Content
like,
for sure. Definitely.
If you need to find something out, like for sure, you go 100%. On there. Everybody on there is a good hunter,
absolutely,
or is knowledgeable about hunting in one way or another.
And most of you know, for the most part, people will be down to help you as well. Like you know, they're not going to give you their exact spot or their honey hole, but they'll give you maybe in general a good area to go. So if you're a new guy, like 100% hop on SCH Outdoors, check it out. And go on. But you're right. I mean, aside from that local forum, like there's nothing like your page.
No, and I like the part where like it's like your 5 minutes of fame where you're like you kind of look and you see you're all of a sudden there's your picture and people giving you attaboys. Like you can stick your chest out a little bit
for sure.
Like, and you're pretty stoked on it. And then I kind of came up with the idea, and then Bruce, Bow Shop Bruce. I've been shooting on his team for a couple years now, and he started listening to my thoughts about starting a page, and he's kind of like pushed me into making the jump and doing it. And then I did it, and it was a kind of a slow start, and I started throwing out some pictures and a lot like hitting up guys asking if I could post pictures of their deer, and it was really cool. Like everybody was like responsive in a very positive way.
Of course.
And now,
I mean, I like the page. And I was aware of the page fairly early. I didn't follow it right away because I always like to see if people are gonna like stay keep doing it.
Yeah.
So make sure it's not just like a quick spur of the moment thing and then they like get unmotivated and stop. So I was aware of the page. I'd go check and, see like Travis is always killing it, posting cool stuff, especially during hunting season. So if you guys don't follow it, definitely go do that. But you reached out to me to post a picture of a buck that my dad shot this year, a nice 4x3, super nice local buck. We hunted him really hard, both of us. My dad was the lucky one to have him come by where he was, 20 yards, got the job done. But that's when... I followed the page, and then since then, like Travis and I, we were talking all the time and just spitting ideas back and forth, so we thought it'd be cool to do this video.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's really cool to have a place like where you curate all the photos from D16 or A22 that you think are worth posting and put them in there. So one question I have, like if I'm a local hunter and I want to get my picture posted on your page, like is there certain things you look for as far as like the quality of the photo or like how people shoot the photo? Like what makes you decide whether to post something or not?
So that is a very good question. I got a couple of things I look for. One, with hunting and everything and the way that we're viewed by society, I look for a classy photo, like showing the least amount of blood. There's been a lot of negative press to like people like I won't say any names of like people from other side of the country that are posting like just the most glorious pictures that don't do hunting any justice.
Yeah, exactly.
And just puts a bad light on us. I believe that every deer that goes down in San Diego is a trophy.
100%.
I mean, whether it's a buck or a doe.
Heck, I mean, like this buck right here, not to cut you off, but this buck's from New Mexico, and I was hunting a big buck. Didn't get him last day, put this guy on the ground. To me, if I were to get this in San Diego County, like, this is a trophy, especially with a bow, but even with a rifle, like, this is a trophy buck. He's legal, he's forked on one side, he's not on the other. Like, it's so hard to hunt here that not only does it, if you're successful here, I promise you go to another state, you're going to, like, feel excellent about your chances.
Absolutely.
But... yeah, not to cut you off, but you're absolutely right. Every deer is a trophy here, no doubt, even a doe.
Yeah, and it's so hard, and not to mention, like, especially if you've been out on opening day of any season around here, it can be pretty chaotic. So the deer are pretty skittish around here, and and you know, like they don't get as big as everywhere else. So like when you see a nice forky, like that's a good deer in San Diego.
Yeah,
Like absolutely. Like
it's true.
I know I posted quite a few forkies, and I know the bow hunters this year were doing pretty good on forkies, and then the rifle hunters came in and I started seeing some bigger bucks go down. But then again, they can reach out and you know, touch from a little bit further.
Well, you know what's funny is like, so I've hunted D16 a long time, and been pretty fortunate to have quite a bit of success on pretty good bucks, and same with my dad. But this year was a little different. I mean, every year it's kind of routine. We put our cameras out at a certain time, start getting photos, start kind of putting together like, okay, these are the ones we want to go after. This year, there really just wasn't any bucks, so we wanted to go after, you know. And then the 4x3 came up. We hunted them for like a week straight. My dad got that buck, and then it was like kind of a standstill. There was like a bunch. This year I've seen more young bucks than any other year. I mean, I saw tons of spikes, tons of little forks, but just very few mature deer. There was one super nice 3x3, but I thought he was like 3 years old, so I was like, I'm gonna let that guy breed, maybe get him next year or the year after. And then the buck I was after, we had named him Clubber because he had like a clubbed hurt foot, but he was like a massive forky. And that was the buck I was after. I hunted him the whole season. I remember
you telling me about that.
And I just never got him. You know, I never even saw him, but he was pretty nocturnal, and then he did start showing up during the daytime on camera, and I just never was there when he was. I never saw him. So, but you know, it goes to show, like, my number one hit list buck was a forky. That's just how it is in Southern California, you know?
Well, I think all the bucks that you're usually looking at were all in my neighborhood, because I had 5 or 6 bucks. I mean, I just, like, every time I'd go look at my cameras, there'd be them, the ones I was eyeballing, and a couple of smaller ones, and then all of a sudden there'd be a new buck that showed up, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then every single buck that I had on my hit list disappeared on August 30th. That was the last time I saw a buck until like a big buck. I passed up on a lot of small forkies this year, and I saw they started coming back when the reds started. You know,
of course. Which is like, you know, one question I get asked all the time is like, when's the best month to hunt in D16? For me, historically, it's always been November is my best month. But my biggest one, this guy right here, I did actually get in like mid-October. Like, it was real early. But he was super routine. He was showing up every day in the morning pretty much. And, you know, it ended up being pretty easy. I hunted him 2 days in a blind. The first day he came out, he laid down, and he was there. But yeah, this guy right here, this guy, big old 4x3. So I told the story about this buck a little bit in a previous video, but he's about 100 and I think it was like 132 inches or something, which is crazy for a local buck. But his body was 213 pounds. Like, this dude was ancient. He had a broken foot, like, that had healed and had scar tissue everywhere. But so the first day I went and hunted him, he actually came out exactly like I thought he would, and then he laid down behind this tree at like 40 yards. So he's laying next to me for like an hour, and eventually he walks towards me. This buck's at like 10 yards, but he's behind a tree. So I'm thinking any minute he's going to step out, I'm going to smoke this buck. This guy, he stands there for like 15 minutes feeding, walks away, left. I didn't get a shot. So I'd watched him for like 3 hours. No shot. Next day, came back. He came in again. And put an arrow in him at about maybe like low 30s, 30 yards, 32 yards. And right as I shot, he actually started to take a little step. So I hit him like, it was a good shot, but it was like last couple ribs, a little deeper than I want, just because he had started to move. He didn't know what happened. I got lucky. This guy ran into like 18 yards, and I shot him again, like right on the money. Perfect. So I actually shot him twice, but he would have gone down with the first shot for sure. But like I always say, if you can, pump an insurance shot in there. There's no reason not to. I promise you that.
Very good policy.
Yes. So
a beautiful buck.
You touched on your 200-inch buck. Go ahead and give us like the Cliff Notes version story. You know, because most people could only dream about getting a 200-inch buck. That's crazy. So give us the quick Cliff Notes version.
Well, let me first just start by saying that I never dreamed of getting a 200-inch buck. I dreamed of hopefully getting a 170 buck one day. I never thought that a 200-inch buck would be in my house on a pedestal right now. Me and my dad were hunting a spot that in Utah that we get drawn every 4 or 5 years to hunt there. It's been a spot that was the first place that me and him hunted. We have seen some really big deer there. Never anything this big, but so we're driving in to hunt the afternoon, and I told my dad, like, let's just get up there early because I kind of want to. I got an idea for something different tonight. And as we're driving in at 3 o'clock, here out in the middle of this open field is a 4x4, and he's about 190 inches is what we were guesstimating. And he was a smart one because as we were pulling up and we're driving, and like he's out in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't even see him until we're about 200 yards away.
Jeez.
So as we pull in, he starts beelining it. So we kind of go up the road a little ways where we think we might see him again, and we see him, but he never stopped long enough to give us a shot. So my dad is now 79 years old, or at this time he was 78. So I told my dad, like, listen, like, I'm gonna put you right here at the bottom of this canyon, and if it comes this way, he's yours. I'm gonna go up around the top. And so I called up my buddy. He's like my brother from another mother. He came out, met me. We went up top, and we went to glass him up, and we came over the ridge of the canyon from up top. And right as we came over the top, we just saw a buck out in the middle of the opening. We thought it was him. And like, while my buddy was like glassing him to see if it was him, I was already taking a knee, and I was rifle hunting at the time, and so I threw a round in and took a knee and brought my scope up, and he's like, "That's your buck, shoot him." And so I put him down, and then when I shot him, he ran down about 30 yards and then fell behind a tree, but we didn't actually see him fall. So then we're waiting, and then so as my buddy, like, he went down this way to see if, like, what was happening, if it was still alive or if it like snuck through, and then he saw the other buck, the 190 buck, run out this way, and so he thought the buck had gotten away. Well, then he gets down around where I had shot, and he starts screaming, and you can hear him from 10 miles away, like, you know, "Oh my God, you shot a 200-inch buck!" And like, it was just like, I'm like sitting there, I'm thinking he's dead or whatever. Yeah. Like I don't know what's happening, if he's hurt. And then so like then I started listening to what he was screaming, and I ran down the hill, and there I came around the corner, and I showed you the video earlier of me walking up on this buck that I thought it was a 4x4, and it turned out to be a 10x9 mule deer. The mass, like, I mean,
it's crazy.
The one at one point the mass is 6 1/4 inches.
Jeez.
But it was just a game changer. Like, I just never thought, and the best part was I was hunting with my dad.
Yeah,
who will always be my hunting partner. And I appreciate that with you. That's doing
just
that.
Like me. Yep.
And then the other thing is, like, there were a lot of guys who were telling me, like, they're like, "You're done, dude. You just shot the biggest deer you'll ever shoot. Like, you're never gonna appreciate another deer." And then the very next year, I shot a forky with my bow, and I was like, just as stoked.
Of course.
Because you know, like I said, it didn't really matter. I loved being able to grab onto a big old set of horns and just like be stoked that I got that. But every buck to me is a trophy.
Yeah, same. That little 2x1 I showed you guys a minute ago, like, you know, I'd shot a bunch of good bucks when I got that little guy, but means the same to me. I'm just happy to punch a tag. I would have shot a doe this year if there was an old big doe, but you know, I'm pretty selective local with the age of the deer, and I just didn't see a doe I would have shot. But to me, I mean, the antlers are cool. I've my whole life I've loved antlers. It's like I love them, but to me that's not what it's about. At the end of the day, it is about meat in the freezer, punching my tag, and that's it. So. Yeah. I'll spend the first chunk of season holding out for a big one. If that don't happen, I'll shoot whatever. You know.
They say that doe tastes better than buck.
Yeah. This buck right here, he talked about 6 1/4 inches of mass. That's crazy because this buck has a lot of mass, especially down here at the base. This side was probably in that range, but this right here, even with all this mass, that's only like, I forgot what it was, but a hair over 5 inches maybe. So to think his buck had another inch is crazy. Like, this is a thick, gnarly, buck. So
the raddest thing about this buck is like a lot of people have seen this buck online, like pictures of him with it. Like, until you actually see it in person, like it's just like,
it's just unique.
Yeah, like this, like all the little kickers coming out right here, like what's going on there, and then over here it's all nice and smooth except for this god awful looking thing.
Yeah.
But this thing has so much character. Like you should put it on display someday, like down at one of the, like at the bow shop, or
maybe
one
at
of the archery shoots.
Maybe at Travis's shoot, I'll bring this buck. We'll put it on display for people. So Travis, since we're talking about the shoot, tell us about your first shoot that you ran, why you did it, and then tell me about the shoot you have coming up.
So the season opener was the shoot that I put on last August. I did it the second weekend of August because that was the weekend where like I was trying not to contradict with any shoots, and Alpine had their shoot on Saturday. I had my shoot on Sunday. I put it on just because there's a lot of people out there who for bow hunting, they're ready to go out and hunt, and like they're all about it, but they're not practicing, and like they're ready to take these shots that are not ethical. I'm all about an ethical shot with hunting, especially with a bow, because just the slightest miss and it can just be a world of well, I mean, I don't really want to go there with what a deer would go through on a bad shot, but
just a lot can happen when you release an arrow too. I mean, it's not like a bullet where it's on you before you can even react. Like you can react by the time an arrow gets to you, especially an animal that are so fast and so smart. I mean, it's just like when you release an arrow, it's like practice on flat ground is one thing, but practice with slope and now wind and rain or whatever's going on, there's so much that goes into it. So like your shoot, if I'm not mistaken, your goal was to throw in like a bunch of those variables.
Absolutely.
So people had to shoot and see if they could put the shot on the money or not.
Yeah.
And then if I'm in the field, wait a minute, I tried that shot at Travis's shoot and it didn't hit the money. Maybe I shouldn't take that shot. Was that kind of the thought process?
Absolutely. Everybody can go to the range at any given day and put, the goal is aim small, miss small, and put up a little dot or a little thing and shoot at a hay bale all day and throw a 5-inch group at 60 or a 4-inch or 3-inch. Like I know some really good archers out there who are really good at that. But all of a sudden you're shooting at an animal where there's no dot, there's no little crosshairs, nothing like, and this thing is actually not going to stand there and let you throw an arrow at it and say like, hit me here. Like it really like is something that a lot of people don't really think about. And then all of a sudden here's a deer running away with an arrow stuck in its ass. And I mean, it happened again this year, like where we saw a really good deer, like somebody took a long shot at a deer, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but I put up this shoot and I went out and I spent about 2 weeks putting together all these shots where they were all about hunting scenarios. Where like you have to draw behind a tree, step out from behind the tree, and you let the arrow go. Or one that has happened to me personally, where draw back and you're at full draw for 30 plus seconds. Well, like I had the 30-second hold.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it's good because like I know the last year or a year and a half ago now, I was at full draw for almost 2 minutes before I let an arrow go, and I was like just waiting for the animal to give me a broadside shot. And like this is all stuff that we don't practice, and it's stuff we need to practice.
Totally.
A lot of people, like I said, they'll go out and shoot dots all day, but then all of a sudden you're at a shoot where like all of a sudden like there's a marker tells you like walk up the hill, and as soon as you get to this spot, draw your arrow and shoot immediately, because that's what happens when you're hunting. And with that, like a lot of people came up to me after the shoot and they were like saying like, dude, I wasn't ready for this. Like this is something I need to start practicing, is like out of the ordinary shots instead of standing there at the 60-yard line shooting at a dot. where I have all the time in the world, and I actually, I mean, I had, like, with all the people that came up to me after the shoot and told me how much they needed to practice before hunting season, that was rad. But then in the middle of hunting season, I see that this one girl, she knocked down a doe, and while I was talking to her about it and like how her shot, because I posted it to my page, she ended up previously, like a couple days before that, drawing back at 55 yards on a forky. She actually didn't draw back, but she had a forky at 55 yards, and because she didn't do good on the shot at the shoot that resembled where she was at, she didn't take that shot on that forky.
I love that.
And that right there made me feel like I succeeded at what I
just
did.
one person. That's what it's all
Just
about.
one.
That's what it's all about.
And then everybody else that came up to me after the shoot and was telling me how much they need to practice before the season,
Of course.
and they didn't realize how out of shape they were, like not necessarily out of shape physically, but shooting shape, like not ready for what they were after. You know, like there's nothing like, you know, like I said, a deer's not going to sit there and go, shoot me here.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean.
so with that, like I felt like it was a success.
Oh, I mean, I would say I unfortunately did not make it, but your next shoot I'm definitely going to make, and I know you're kind of planning something along the same lines.
Yes.
Do you have any, like, when do you know when that's happening, or kind of what the concept is behind that shoot?
We're finalizing the details right now with San Diego Archers, because I want to do it at Balboa again. I like Balboa because it's kind of centrally located, even though Henshaw puts on good shoots and Alpine puts on good shoots, but this is just kind of one where I can actually get super involved. It's closer to my house, so I can be down there for weeks at a time, like putting together shots. Somebody took a long shot at a deer last year, and for weeks after that, there was a deer walking around with an arrow sticking out of its hind quarter. Not just for hunters to see, but for the general public to see. And that puts a black eye on the hunting population, and if not more so, the bow hunter population. And so
True.
I'm trying to put together a shoot. I've already, if the shoot goes, I've already got a pack. It's like a $700 pack from Blacks Creek for like packing a meat packing pack. And it's an insane pack, and I'm stoked that they jumped on board for this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, bow shops like Bruce from the Bow and Arrow Shop is like, he supports everything I do so much. I can't thank that guy enough. He's on board, but like this is going to be a shoot where every shot's either going to be a long shot or it's going to be a short shot where you've got a sliver of a shot. So you can understand, when you walk away from my shoots, what I want you to do is, I want you to walk away saying, I need to practice, or I want you to walk away feeling confident about being able to take a shot like that, where it's a critical situation, where, because we owe it to the animal. Like,
that's the main thing. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, like when did you start archery hunting?
It was 2016 or 2015. It was like January of 2016. It was.
Cool. Okay, so like obviously you already know that like shooting with a bow is it's a lot different than a rifle. I mean, it's just is different. And for me, you know, I'm in a unique case where I've happened to be an archery hunter for a long time. And what I'll say that kind of coincides with Travis's shoots is like, out of all the big game animals I've shot with a bow, which is like probably around 50 big game animals with a bow, I'm guessing, the amount of times I've got the perfect like flat ground even shot is like very minimal. I mean, most of my shots I've been sitting down, like on rock, you know, or on my knees, or down a slope, or side hill, or across a ravine, or it's been really windy. Like that's most of the time.
Yeah.
Like very few of my shots have been like cherry, like textbook scenario. So a shoot like his is so good because I can guarantee you from experience, like you're not going to get those opportunities that often where everything's perfect. So you got to practice the imperfect more often, and then you're going to be more proficient as an archer. I mean, this year I shot, let's see here, I shot two turkeys, 4 big game animals this hunting season, and one of them was like a steep slide slope where I drew behind something, stepped out, shot him 44 yards. That was this buck right here. Then this buck right here, I shot this year at 30 yards. That one was actually pretty flat ground, but he stood up, so it was kind of a quick scenario. The elk, I did the same thing Travis talked about. I held a draw for about a minute and a half, had to let down. He finally came in a window, had to redraw and shoot him, you know, so that was another one. And then I shot this javelina right here at 9 yards.
He's cute.
Oh, this guy's so old, man. He's got like rotted teeth. This was my favorite. Normally I don't save javelina skulls, but this guy was just like ancient. I had to keep him. So, but the point is, like, all those shots were different, you know. The only ones that were textbook really were this guy right here and the javelina, you know. All the other ones, the situations that you literally just talked about, happened to me, you know. And the other ones were turkeys. One of them I stalked up behind a bush pile. I drew like sitting down and stood up while in draw, shot over the brush pile. So that was another one that like normally you don't practice sitting down, drawing, standing up, shooting. It's like, and then the other turkey I shot off my knees. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's always different stuff. So if you guys are in San Diego County or even just nearby, Riverside, whatever, come down to Travis's next shoot. And
it sounds like it'll be on March 31st. It sounds like
March
everything's
31st.
going my way.
Okay, cool. So if it's March 31st, put that on your calendar and follow Travis's page or my page on Instagram, and both of us will post when that is. But definitely make sure you go to that because, like I said, that's the true practice you need for hunting, you know. Obviously, being a really good shooter is good too, so you should practice those flat ground shots and become like, you know, shrink those groups. Get those Robin Hoods, which are fun. Your first couple Robin Hoods, I always say, are fun. After that, they're just expensive.
Suck.
But, you know, it's one of those things, like, shrink them groups, get to be a really good shooter, and then go do shoots like Travis, because I promise you it will definitely help you in the field as a hunter, no doubt.